I'm Cindy Paulos, and this is The Creators. We've got a wonderful show for you today. I always feel good in my heart when I talk to Beth Ann Hilton. Um, she's a beautiful soul who helps a lot of people, but we were talking last week and she brought up a friend of hers who does amazing service and has a great project going on. Carline Brice-Mesilus, am I pronouncing that correctly?
That's correct.
And so I said, Beth, we have to have her on to talk about her project. And because you're a beautiful soul who's actualizing the intent many of us have, which is to really try to help and do something for those in need. And I get so impressed when I find people who are actually able to make that dream come true. I said, Beth, let's have her on. Let's talk about this. So Beth said yes, and I'm so glad that we are here together today.
Hi, Cindy. Hi, Carline. I'm so happy to connect both of you. This is amazing because you're two of the most light-guided people in the world who I know. Let me just tell you some of the things. I can't even get into all of it, but to introduce Carline, and just to give a little advance, what we're going to talk about is the nonprofit, a bit of her history, a bit about travel to Haiti and voluntourism. So that's where we're going today. Carline was a staff member of the United Nations Environment Program and the Organization of American States. She's an advocate of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals and green technology and practices. So I wanted to mention that first, to frame, like, you've got someone here that really knows her stuff. And she's an international development expert, coalition builder, entrepreneur, and philanthropist with more than 30 years of experience working to improve the welfare of individuals around the world through multi-stakeholder project development, systematic research, and community investment and outreach. Here on screen, you're seeing the website for HavServe, which she founded right after the earthquake to help her home village of Brun. And I think that's when I first met her. We were looking to bring some musical instruments for the children. And I did a little bit of public relations with her and eventually became a board member, in full disclosure. So I have seen firsthand how systematic and effective and goal-oriented Carline is, and it's really been a pleasure. So she's been leading this HavServe effort and expanding it incredibly, including the implementation of strategic public-private partnerships, too many to name at this point, but maybe we'll highlight a few, and volunteer-driven participation in the rebuilding efforts since 2010. And along the way, then we also had a hurricane. So we have, or Carline has really headed up building and rebuilding and building back better, might I say.
Yeah.
So welcome, Carline.
Thank you, Beth. Thank you, Cindy, for having me, and to all your listeners and people who are listening to you all over the world. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. Indeed, I got involved with, right after college, I joined the United Nations Environment Program, where we work mostly in Jamaica and did some work in Cuba, mostly in environmental work, protecting the coastline, teaching, doing workshop, for people to know that we are living in a world and we do have to take care of it. And I got to Washington, D.C., and started working immediately with the Organization of American States, where I spent about 25 years working on conferences, meeting management around the world. So we have been able to do that for about 35 countries. Like all of you know, in 2010, we were all over the world. We were sitting in front of our television, looking at Haiti, it's almost like the world was falling apart. The entire country was devastated. People were screaming everywhere. You could feel, you could see the suffering. And I was born and raised in Haiti, and I didn't go there for a very long time, and I was devastated. And as a Christian and somebody who believe in the power of God to intervene at any moment, the first thing that I did was praying. I was praying, but at the same time I was crying, feeling that sense of hopelessness. And also immediately, as somebody who just want to get things done, we started thinking, what can we do? What can we do? There must be something that we can do. And I always remember that little saying that says, when we are looking at disaster, when we are looking at people suffering, when we are looking at things happening in front of us, think about the helpers. There is always somebody who is helping. So that's what we did. Immediately, with colleagues from the OAS, the World Bank, the IMF in Washington, D.C., we pulled together a team of 25 volunteers, and we said, hey, we are heading to Haiti to see what we can do. It was a very difficult trip. Of course, we had to go through Puerto Rico, the Dominican Republic, before we end up in Haiti. But as soon as we get in the field, what we realized that there were people flying all over the world. They wanted to help. They wanted to solve some of the problems we were looking at on television. But they didn't know what to do, because one of the difficulties for Haiti is the language. Not only some people might speak French, but the local dialect is Haitian Creole. And in order to help people, we have to know what they need, what they want, and we need to know what they are going through. And that's what we did. We did interpretation. We passed on water. We find soccer gear for the children who were crying so that they can find something to do. Talk to the women to find out where they are, what they need, and who has the resources, who has the educational resources so that the children, wherever they are under a tree, they could start learning. And we did that for about 3 weeks, exhausted, completely spent. We were heading back to Washington, D.C. But once we get to the airport in Miami, we said to ourselves, then what? What next? Because we left so much things undone behind. There was so much work to do that we were questioning ourselves. But when I went to Haiti, I left quickly. But while I was there, my mother, who was living in Maryland, called me. And she said, Carline, I don't know how hard it is, but I would really love for you to go to the village where our mom came from, where my mom came from, to see how they are doing, if they need anything, so that once you get back, you can give us a report so that we can see what we can do, because I'm sure there are people who are living in Port-au-Prince and they are migrating back to those villages. And indeed, I didn't have a choice really. When all of you know, when your mom asks you to do something, you better do it under those circumstances. So I got a friend who was able to rent a car, and we got in the car and headed to that village. And I don't have to describe the trip to any of you. It was hard. It took us it's a 2 hours trip, but it took us nearly 9 to 10 hours to make it. But we made it. Once I get there, what I saw was that there was what happening in Haiti is that most people are moving out of the remote areas to go to the city, because that's where they have access to almost everything: education, healthcare, the meager resources that they can have access to is in Haiti. But after the earthquake, we had a reverse migration. People were going back to where they came from, going back to family, community. When I get to that village, which is in the southwest of Haiti, in the NIP department of Haiti, I saw that reverse migration. Young people, families, children, they were returning as if there were 45 people in one home, one bedroom.
Oh
Imagine, one bedroom, 45 people. Children were everywhere. And some of them were not family. They were not even from the village. But in the rush of trying to get out of Port-au-Prince, everybody were grabbing friends, people you know, and say, hey, let's get out of here. And I know a place probably where you can be safe, where we can have something to eat, so let's go. But I got there with a backpack, but I had a soccer ball. I passed it on to the kids immediately, started playing with them. Immediately also, I started meeting with the community leaders, and they were sharing their situation, what's going on, what they hope, what they are dreaming of doing, and meeting with the families. And the promise that I made to them before leaving was that I will be back. I don't know how, I don't know with what, but I will be back. And I left. And then I have been going back ever since.
Well, Carline, that's a perfect, yeah, I haven't been yet. I want to go, but that's a perfect place to introduce then how you named the organization, you know, what that name HavServe means. And it's spelled HavServe, all one word, .org, right?
Thank you, Beth. Yes, indeed, it's HavServe. The name HavServe comes from the understanding that if you have, you serve. And we all have something. Think about it. We all have a little bit of time that we can give to somebody in need. We have knowledge. Oh my God, if we put all the knowledge and training and the know-how we have all together, I don't know, the world will be full of knowledge. Whatever you know, or you learn, or you are educated in, or you got training in, somebody else might use that. What about sharing that knowledge, sharing that training through a workshop, a one-day training, and resources? Oh my God, we do have resources. I do not want to hear anybody saying we don't have resources. We have so much. In my neighborhood right here in Florida, sometimes I take a walk, I walk in the afternoon, and on Monday is trash day. I see families pulling out everything from babies care to animal care to home furniture, so much. Where are those things going? In the environment. But what if we look at somebody, find somebody who can use those things because they are usable, pass them on. And we will do two things. We'll bless somebody and we'll protect the environment.
Yeah.
And those things can last forever. So this is where really the name HavServe came from. If you have compassion, that's one thing we want to teach, that we have compassion for other people. Listen to what they are going through. We have, for example, an immigrant family that we are helping through HavServe in the Orlando area. When I met with them 3 weeks ago, I found out that this family of 5 spent 2 years traveling from Haiti to the United States of America. Is that somebody you can say, do not come to my country? We have to listen to the hardship, to the struggle with children going through 7 different countries.
Wow.
By the way, Haiti is 1 hour and 30 minutes from the United States.
Wow.
If I live here or in the Orlando area where I am, if I live here at 11 o'clock, at 1 p.m., I am in Haiti.
And yet it took them years.
And yet it took them 2 years to get to the US.
Mm.
So what we are saying, this is a case of compassion. Listen, understand, and activate. And then we can judge if this is something to judge, if this is something we can do about it, if we can intervene in whatever ways. No human being should suffer.
How
And I
did you
think
get?
God,
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you there. I was just wondering about the children because I know you're trying to save, you're trying to raise some money right now, and this is part of your birthday goal as well. And how can you turn you down, right? Right. But you're trying to help raise some funds right now, and I want to help as well. But talk about when you got involved with the children, the schooling, and how that was possible, because I've heard so many stories about people who wanted to help in Haiti but couldn't get through the bureaucracy, and sometimes the problems that they had was making sure that the money and the funds actually went directly to what was supposed to go to and not get taken or stolen.
thank you, Cindy, for bringing me back to the reality indeed. When we get back, with friends and family, we were able to raise some funds. As I said before, I promised them I was going to come back, and I went back. We left around February, but I went back immediately around August. And I went in with teachers, went with doctors and nurses. And once we get there, we take care of the sick. We started training young people who were migrating back from the city to the village on how to teach. We brought in curriculum and books, and we said, children have to be in school. And we collected school supplies, and all of us were dragging 3 or 4 suitcases, and that's how we get started. There were schools that were damaged after the earthquake. We also joined friends and family. We did some online peer-to-peer fundraising. For some of you who are listening, peer-to-peer fundraising is like GoFundMe. We create a page and reach out to our family and network and say, hey, can you help us do this? You know what I learned from this, Cindy? People cares. People want to help. People want to solve problems when they know how to get involved. And through those processes, we get friends and families in our network on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, who will be donating $5, $10, $15. And then with that, we're able to repair 3 schools in the village, build a brand new early childhood education program for the kids. Now, all children in the village from 2.5 years old, they are in school. What do we call them? The saying we are using, grab them early. We grab them early, we put them in school, we're teaching them, we are monitoring them, and through our friends and families as well, we are able to raise funds to pay teachers. We are able to raise funds to build a school. And right now, one of the issues that's happening in Haiti is hunger. As you all can read online, there is a political instability. We also have COVID-19 compiled with everything else that was going on before. People are hungry, mostly the children. For me, my heart breaks into pieces when I see children hungry. They depend on us, the adults, to feed them. And we say, what can we do? And as Beth shared with you, we've been doing this since 2010. And we have been doing it every summer to feed the kids. So we raise on a yearly basis for summer, we do what we call a zero hunger campaign for Haiti. Not only to raise awareness about hunger, what hunger is like, but also the fund that we raise, we usually feed 500 children in the village. But you said, how do we go through the red tape? is community. Once you build relationship with the community, you know what they need. Whatever little bit of money or resources you have, you can use the community time, efforts, energy, or even their own resources with what you bring in for them to make life better. And the idea of HavServe, as I shared with you before, you have, you serve. And not only we say to our friends from the US or Canada or other countries who travel with us to Haiti, but we say to the Haitian people as well, if we bring you we are able to purchase the rice and the chicken and the beans, you can create the vegetable, you can plant it, and together we can feed the children. And that's what we have been doing. And to fight hunger in the village, we are raising fund online, and anybody who can contribute to that and support our efforts will be grateful. And God bless you if you are able to. And if you are not able to, pray for us and to find the support that we need. And then we teach the children how to grow their own vegetable. We create school gardening throughout the village. Every school has a school garden, and the children 2.5 years old, they are planting vegetable, cabbage, carrots, and we are using that to feed them as well. But what about the mothers? The mothers are incredible people. They want to solve problems. So we create a community garden where we have our incredible board member who is Lord, who also work in Guatemala, travel to Haiti 8 times to train women how to grow vegetable in a square foot garden technique in their backyard, not only to feed the children, but also how to participate in community gardening. And those are the things that we do. We do the training, we do the community garden, we do the school garden, and also we try to raise funds through our peer-to-peer fundraising so that we can feed the children who are hungry. And this year it is our hope and prayer that we'll be able to raise $15,000 so that we can feed 500 children during the summer.
So
Yay.
that is a great story, is it, Beth? I'm so inspired by it. I have to wonder, because I mean, we all remember when right after any major disaster, and certainly after the Haitian earthquake, there's always attention. You get attention, you get all the news media, sometimes for a week, 2 weeks, sometimes a month or 2 months. But then when it breaks out of the new news and it becomes old news, you don't have that same impetus from people to draw attention to it. So, with what you're doing now, was it harder to keep that momentum of the real hard work you're doing going? Is that harder because now that it's not in the spotlight anymore?
Thank you, Cindy, for bringing that up. Indeed, it is hard because when the spotlight is gone, the suffering remains. If somebody lose their home, all the belonging, or they get hurt or lose a job, they are still suffering. And in disaster, we have to keep the long-term goals in mind. Yes, we can provide them the emergency relief, but we have to also to gather data, gather the information, what is going on, to figure out how we can help them pull it together. And also there is that tendency, people are waiting, just depending on foreign aid. What I'm seeing in Haiti, at least in the village where we are working, that's not the case. They are the most hardworking people you can imagine. The women a woman will take a child on her shoulder for 2 hours in the hot sun of 105 on top of a mountain to take that child to school. And then travel back another 2.5 hours to bring that child back home 5 days a week. Imagine doing this in the US. So this is a woman who wants something for her child. And they do that for the market. They do that for gardening. They do that. They work really, really hard. But unfortunately, with the political situation, with the extreme poverty, and also the lack of access to training and education, is very
Kind of breaking up there for a second, but I'm going to ask you, I think you might still be able to hear me, because I'm really curious also now, since you've been doing this for so long, for such a long time, if you've been building up a foundation.
cheers. Incredible group of men and women who are dedicated, who will be traveling from the US, from Canada, from Netherlands, from France, from the DR, from Jamaica, from all over the place. There are people who are willing to help, and they truly embrace the idea you have, you serve, and they are ready to go and serve with us. And we are grateful for that.
So now do you have a foundation built of people that are the parents and some of the children that started with you growing up? And we see that, you know, when you have that early foundation you started, that you can change lives. Are they now being changed by what you've done, and are they able to indeed help others?
Absolutely. I'll give you an example for it. One of the young lady, when we got to Haiti, she was 13. She participated in the first camp that we did. And then, but there was something in her. There was a certain level of kindness and compassion towards the younger children. So I kind of take a liking to that and invite her to be a young monitor or evaluator, even to observe the younger children. But now that 13 years old, through the process we put together, she's a mom, she's married, she built a home, and she's a teacher, a kindergarten teacher in the new school that we built.
How wonderful.
And she has a job.
I love it. I love it. See, now that's huge, huge difference in someone's life. If you can even touch one person's life like that, the work you're doing is so valuable. I want to make sure we get this information out to people on how they can donate, how, if they have, they can serve in so many ways. And I'd love to see your goal reach that you have to try to raise the funds you need for this summer. Tell us about the goal in the summer and your deadline and how people can get money to you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Cindy, for doing that and for doing the outreach. We truly appreciate it. God bless you for that. The children that we are feeding are the children in the 6 different schools, plus the school that we started. So every year we choose like 500 of them. There are more, but we cannot do more. So we choose 500, selected the children who are mostly in need of the support that we are providing. So this year we are trying to raise $15,000. And with that $15,000, we'll be feeding 500 children daily meals. We are planning to start feeding them the first week of July until school open again around September. But because of COVID also, we are also thinking about plan B. If we are not able to gather them and feed them together, how we can use that fund to provide resources, groceries to the families so that they can feed them, because we are monitoring the situation very closely. How people can give, you can go to www.havserve.org. Again, www.havserve.org, and you can make a donation right there. Or if you are part of Cindy's network and she's able to email you, she can send you the email of the fundraising we have online, and we are hoping that you will be able to contribute. We are also on Facebook. We have a partnership with Facebook. They allow us to raise fund. We don't pay a fee. So you can also find us on Facebook, which is HavServe, and you can donate as well through Facebook. And definitely we are maintaining our record. We'll be able to share with you a donation letter. We see it at the end of the year, And we'll also be, if we have your information, we'll be able to send you updates, information about the children, showing you the impact that you are having with us in the field. Thank you so much for listening and for wanting to support. And I know many of you will do. And if you are able and willing to support us with your time, you can reach out to us as well via email and let us know your availability. We travel to Haiti 4 or 5 times a year. We do workshop, training teachers. We do mobile clinic so that the children can have access to healthcare. We also build schools. We are fixing toilets. We are managing water. We're doing school gardening, community gardening. There is a lot of work for you to do.
Bravo, Carline, bravo.
She's so amazing. I tell you, Beth, I mean, what a wonderful thing. And I know you also obviously fell in love with this project and you're working hard to get the word out there as well.
Well, what I really like is exactly what you've heard from Carline today. She built this from the inside, from the ground up. And that was the key to what made it different for me. You know, I've been an activist for a long time, but so often organizations go into places in need and try to, you know, put their values and requirements onto those places, as opposed to really getting in there and compassionately listening and building programs that work so that they'll be successful. So I've seen the progress over these last 11 years, Carline.
11 years.
and I've seen the integrity, you know, of the organization and how organized Carline is and the financials and everything. And we're really good. This is the exciting thing. The team is really good at getting matching funds. So if we even get a few more, $100 more or $1,000 more, we're going to get a match to double that money. And then we'll be well on our way for that $15,000 goal this summer. And that's pretty exciting. So volunteerism, you know, get to Haiti, share something. It'll be very rewarding someday. You know, put us on your bucket list and give what you can. A friend of mine who's an awesome rock and roll guy, Kit Wakely, out in Kansas City, he just donated yesterday on my Facebook page. That was hugely, you know, appreciated. I never expect it, but I always appreciate it. So I have a link on my page. Carline has a link on her page. We have a friendly competition. We're trying to like outdo each other. So thanks, Cindy. Thanks for inviting us to share.
Wonderful. I'm so inspired and so touched. And when I see these kind of things happening, your beautiful smiling face, Carline, and the work that you do to help people, it has truly touched my heart. And I thank you. I thank you from the bottom of my heart. I'd love to go. Beth, you and I are going to have to go down there and take a visit down there and, you know, take some pictures, because I am impressed that someone like you, Carline, had a dream and was able, with your love and dedication, to make it happen. So God bless you. God bless you. And thank you for the work you do. And lots of love to you, and to you too, Beth.
Thank you, Cindy.
Thank you, Cindy, for your time. Thank you for sharing your platform with us. Beth, thank you for all you do, putting the time and the energy, and for being so steadfast in your support for almost 11 years. We truly appreciate you. Nice meeting you, Cindy. Thank you for your time.
God bless.
Great work.
My pleasure.
All right. God bless.